complete continuum, no? From conceptual to functional to detailed planning. So those are the three stages of planning. It always starts with conceptual, it matures to functional, and then it eventually goes down to detailed planning. So dun sa spectrum na pinagdaanan natin, we were told sa first lecture natin that strategy eventually is really an art and a science. An art because you are trying to determine what to do by having ideas. And we tried to learn this through operational design and mission analysis. No, we were trying to determine the art of it, what to do. Now we go down to the step and that science part in learning how to do things. Okay? Kasi kanina, sabi ng classmate nyo na mission analysis is who does what, where, why, when. No? But he said may how. And I cut him off. Because mission analysis is basically your 5 W's. Yun yung magre-reflect sa mission statement. No? Task and purpose. Who, what, where, why, when. Okay? But mission analysis and even operational design did not describe to you yung how. Okay? So the how component is basically in the aspect of COA development. How to do it. Okay? So this is the science part of your operational planning. Your course of action should be the one that will be able to tell you how you are supposed to achieve the goal or the military objective. Okay? Tandaan nyo ha, what to do is being offered through operational design and mission analysis. But to generate the options of how to do it is within the realms of COA development. Okay? So let us look at the activities of COA development. Marshall, pag naputol, you just raise your right hand na kasi hindi ko alam kung maghahang yung signal dito or signal dyan kasi may ongoing na BTC rin dito.
Ay, sir.
Okay. So if you look at the inputs, no, you came from a COA development guidance from your commander after he was able to approve your restated mission and your commander's intent. So yung basic things that you are supposed to do here in the COA development are as shown. No? You have to refine all those other products that you were developing and then attempt to do a course of action, graphic and narrative. Now you are sometimes made to do 2 COAs or sometimes 3 COAs, and then you are supposed to do a COA comparison and then war game it and then eventually recommend kung ano yung recommended COA ng staff. And this will result to a COA briefing, okay, which we will try to detail in a while, okay. So assuming coming from that sample scenario that we had, no, the commander's intent and guidance was a concept, and he will try to give it to you as his COA development guidance. Okay? So here, he was trying to tell us na ang COA development guidance niya is for NTF 89 to shape the deep and close areas to protect the launching of ground offensive. Okay? That we should be able to seize terrain through land and sea maneuver in order to prevent withdrawal and ensure our slocks. Thirdly, we must be able to address the humanitarian crisis and secure the borders so that the enemy will not be able to link up with Tunisia. And lastly, our operation will follow on transition plan to Tunisia with assistance from non-military forms of power. So this is basically his COA development guidance that he will tell you as staff planners. Okay? From there, yung COA initial process nyo should be able to at least think about what will be your options. How will I be able to translate that COA development guidance into specific actions. Okay? And then you normally do a combat power analysis. You try to array your forces and try to see if it is sufficient. And then you try to do a COA sketch, no? Yung maneuver, which we will tackle sa warfighting portion ng lecture na to. At the base, at the most basic, no? Each COA that you will propose should embody all, not one, no? All the essential tasks that came from the task analysis. So pag may ginawa kayong COA, seize objective A, block ganito, and then ganyan, dapat yung lahat na essential tasks na yun should be reflected in the COA that you will develop. Okay? So do not forget that. The point of emphasis of a COA development is doing the how. Okay? So COA planning should be able to contribute to the management in addressing the enemy center of gravity as well as the enemy's course of action. At the same time, you are supposed to protect your own COG. Now, ang problem minsan, no, because gahol sa time, no, you try to ang tawag mo rito, funnel that decision towards your favorite COA, which you should not do. All COA should be strong. And then you conduct a fast DC criteria and testing. No? So yung fast DC criteria na yon is the feasibility, acceptability, suitability, distinguishability, completeness. Each of these 5 evaluation criteria are found in your readings and they are easy to do. Okay? Sa joint publication 5.0, there was a recommendation of a way to approach course of action development. It is a way, but it is not the only way. So I recommend that you familiarize yourself kung ano yung sinasabi niyang step-by-step approach, no? How you should try to develop your COA. You try to read this. It's in Joint Pub 5.0. But I want to share to you yung my own way, no? Over the past years that I have been doing operational planning, my teaching, it's all about sharing to you, but it's an offering that you may take it or leave it. Just like yung center of gravity analysis identification na binigay ko, no, I hope you have refined your thinking because of the presentation that was given and the comments that I was able to share with you. So normally sa akin, yung COA development should start with, yes, accomplish the mission. But it should, first of all, be able to focus on the military problem. Yung COA ko should address the military problem. And normally, kung sa kinetic or yung gera na type, it is always against the enemy. So I try to look at the enemy objectives that came out from the IPB. Diba? Ano yung most likely or most dangerous COA niya? I will be able to infer kung ano yung objectives ng enemy. From there, because it has an objective, ang objective, you can only accomplish objective if you are able to do actions or tasks. So I try to enumerate ano ba itong mga tasks na gagawin ng kalaban para ma-achieve yung objective niya. And then I slowly will try to address all of those actions or all of those tasking that they will do. I will counteract it by developing a scheme or a concept of maneuver to address it. So example, meron kayong scenario. Your scenario is...
Sir, excuse me, sir.
Sige.
Yung slide, sir, hindi, sir, gumagalaw.
Yeah, kasi i-explain ko lang yung slide. Okay.
Nag-comment yung mga classmate ko, sir.
Sige. So, ito yung my way, no? Wala siyang slide kasi kikwento ko lang. So, example, meron kayong territorial defense operation scenario, no? That an adversary will try to occupy your territory, yung isang island nyo. Assuming ganito yung mangyayari sa senaryo ninyo, di ba? Titingnan ko, babasahin ko muna ano ang objective ng enemy. And then, with my red cell, I try to ask them, ano kaya magiging scheme of maneuver or mga actions ng kalaban para ma-achieve yung objective. And then I will try to counter that. That is how I will develop my COA. So if their objective is to invade, into seize or occupy an island that belongs to my country, ang normal na concept ko ng course of action development ko is I should be able to establish a defensive posture. Diba? Once I'm able to do that, I will be able to develop a scheme kung paano ako maka-establish ng defensive posture. I should be able to establish naval or military presence. So saan ko to ilalagay? I should be able to secure my slocks para masuportahan ko yung island na yun na gusto nilang i-invade. I should be able to conduct information operation para at least ma-deter ko yung intention nila. So itong mga tasks na to, no, conduct information operation, conduct or establish presence, secure my slocks, or I need to coordinate with the LGUs of the island in preparation for IDPs, yung mga displaced individual in case na magkaroon ng armed conflict. Kasi pag nagkaroon ng refugees, hindi na natin sakop yun eh. As the military, we are not trained to do refugee evacuation, operation, etc. etc. So dapat meron rin akong tasking to coordinate or collaborate with LGUs regarding these kinds of things. Now, if I'm able now to enumerate yung mga tasking na gagawin ko, yung mga actions ko to counter yung kalaban, I will now be able to have a concept nung course of action ko. Alam ko na kung paano ko igagalaw yung pieces ng mga chess pieces ko, whether it is the air, it is the naval, it is the ground forces. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's a way, and it's my way. But it's not the only way. Again, no, it's how to do it is a combination. No? It's a science, but at the same time, it requires an art because you were supposed to design an approach coming from your initial problem framing and operational design. So it will be dependent on the situation that you are confronted with. Okay. Now, after you have developed a sketch, a narrative, an idea of how we will do your course of action, you will now be proceeding to the most time-consuming step of the operational process, which is the COA wargaming. Hindi lang ito yung portion ng red cell as I made mention a while ago, but the red cell will now be an active player dito sa step na to. You will be assessing the COAs that you develop versus the enemy COA that the red cell was trying to also share with you. Okay? So typically, yung COA wargame will have these following inputs, the process that you're supposed to do, and then ano yung magiging results niya. Let's illustrate. Okay? So sa COA wargame, it will try to identify yung strength, weaknesses, at saka risks and shortfalls ng COA ng blue cell. Okay? It gives you a better understanding if your COA is good and how you should eventually be able to make it better. Okay? Yung COA wargame also gives you an input kung paano kayo gagawa ng mga branches and sequel. No? Example, seize objective alpha and ma-defeat yung enemy. Kaya lang pagdating doon, wala namang kalaban. So, nagagawan ka agad siya ng frago. No? In case na wala yung kalaban, 3rd Battalion should be able to proceed to ganito, ganyan. So, it helps identify what will be your next move. Okay? The bottom line is you are not supposed to compare your COAs. You are only supposed to wargame it against the COA of the enemy. So ang typical wargame guidance dito is once you present to me your COA 1, 2, and COA 3, no, I will say, I like COA 3 and I also like COA 1. I want you to come up with a combination of COA 1 and 3 and then you wargame it against the enemy most dangerous COA. Okay, so the wargaming is against the enemy COA. Okay. So the point of emphasis is COA wargaming is iterative. Pwede siyang ulit-ulitin. Hindi kailangang isa. Okay? And then from all your COAs that were subjected to the enemy COA, you try to retain kung ano yung may pinakamagandang performance. So some of the tools are you have to have a worksheet na parang ganito. No? Blue Force will do or propose the action. No? And then the red cell will come up with their own reaction. No? Pag gumawa kami ng ganito, ito yung forces namin, ganyan-ganyan, anong gagawin ng enemy? So the red cell will also try to position and think like the enemy. Pag ganyan karami, sir, aatras kami, aakyat kami dito sa ganito. And then the blue force will now do their counteraction. So you're trying to simulate. Okay? So, and then you do it again. You come up, paano kung ang blue force will do this kind of action? Anong reaction ng red cell? And then the red cell will also try to react. And then you will know what will be your counteraction. So the wargaming process is time-consuming, but it is able to refine, test, and validate the strength and the weaknesses of the blue force COA. Meron pang isang way, no? Ito yung sync matrix. It's again based on action, reaction, counteraction. And it is from different components. Yung Marines, itong gagawin, anong gagawin ng kalaban, itong Air Force, pag ginawa ito, anong kalaban, para ma-refine nyo ngayon yung sequence and phases ng course of action nyo. Okay? Which we will try to understand pagdating doon sa maneuver ng warfighting. Okay? So the results of the wargaming normally would give you an input on your warfighting functions. I'm able to sustain this, so no change. Uy, kulang ako sa force protection, I should add this. Sa command and control, baka hindi naabutin ng signal ng comms ko. Okay? So you're able now to refine your COA based on the results of your wargaming. From there, because you're able to wargame your COAs, you now do your comparison and decision. Okay. So normally, these are the inputs, the process, and the results of the COA comparison and decision. You normally do it with different tools. No? So just like your staff study, meron kayong mga matrix to compare. So one of them is yung principles of war. Aling COA ba ang may pinaka-advantageous in terms of the governing powers ng principles of war? Okay? But sometimes, rinarank nyo lang siya. But we also understand that not all principles of war in a given context, in a given situation, will have equal weight. No? Minsan, yung speed and surprise needs to have a higher weight. So, pwede nyong i-alter. No? Pwede nyong lagyan ng weight. Hindi lang siya 1, 2, 3 per second, third, fourth. You could put a weight on each COA. Okay? So, dito, yung mass and flexibility ang binigyan nila ng malaki na weight. Ang mababa na weight is yung surprise. Okay? And then, you'll now be able to do a comparative matrix. At the same time, meron pa rin yung plus-minus na comparison. No? Will it be advantageous? Will it be not? At the same time, pwede rin ganito. Modification. So, it's up to the group kung anong matrix of comparison you prefer to use as long as you are able to compare all COAs from each other. Okay? And then you go down to your orders development. Okay? So, yung sa COA comparison and decision, you have to ask your boss, Sir, we recommend that COA number 2 be retained and ganyan-ganyan. So, your boss will now be telling you, okay, I like COA 2, pero mas gusto ko rin yung amphibious operation na nasa COA 1. So, finalize a concept of operation that is COA 2, pero i-add nyo yung amphibious operation ng COA 1. From there, you are now able to develop your CONOPS and then you can now start with your detailed planning. Ang paggawa nyo ngayon ng OPORD. So when you go down to transitions, you have now a plan. Dito sa transition, dito na kayo naggagawa ng mga rehearsal drills. Dito na kayo gagawa ng mga confirmation brief. Dito na kayo nagpa-finalize. Okay? And you are now ready to execute. Okay? So in summary, for the past half day, we were able to provide the doctrinal linkages of operational planning. We were able to discuss the principles of the process. We discussed operational planning teams, yung membership, organization, yung roles niya, as well as the red teaming. And we had an overview of the six-step process of the operational planning. So at this moment, do we have any questions?
As of this moment, sir, wala pa, sir.
Wag na muna tayo mag-break. Kabe-break lang natin. We will now go to a sidebar. No? It's a topic na I felt was needed when I was at CGSC because yung paggawa ng concept of operation ng mga estudyante over time was a bit deficient. Inaano ko nga na hindi ba kayo naturuan gumamit ng warfighting function? So, let's try to test it. No? Lieutenant Commanderable Daryl Carino, are you there?
Sir, good afternoon, sir. Lieutenant Carino, sir.
Daryl, ano ang pagkaalam mo or what is your familiarity with these two words, warfighting functions?
Sir, in my own opinion, sir, warfighting function is, I think, sir, is the capability of a force in warfighting, and of course, its functions when fighting a war, sir.
So, its capabilities. Yan ba pagkaintindi mo? They are capabilities?
Yes, sir, as far as I believe, sir.
Okay. Si Lieutenant Commanderable Kasibang, are you there?
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Sige, can you share with us ano yung pagkakaalam mo tungkol sa warfighting function?
Based on my opinion, sir, is warfighting function is the way you fight using your available resources, sir, based on your
Okay.
planning and other.
Towards what?
Towards the adversary, sir.
Towards
The attainment of your
accomplishing the mission or the
Yes.
objectives.
Yes, sir.
Okay? Sige. So, ganun rin talaga ang pagkaintindi nung sabihin natin 90% ng tao sa buong AFP. Okay? That's why I developed this portion because it is something na siguro 39 of you are still not aware with. We should be able to understand ano ba talaga ang warfighting function. Okay? ano ba ang concept ng warfighting function and how do I apply it in operational planning? Okay? So basically, ang warfighting function, according to the doctrine, is a group of tasks and systems united by a common purpose that commanders use to accomplish mission. So meaning to say, you have to view warfighting functions as a system comprised of people or maybe organization or processes. No? It's a system perspective. Kaya nga, when we do design and planning, there is always system thinking. According to the doctrine, binibigyan tayo ng definitions. No? And all of you can just Google kung ano yung warfighting functions and you could read kung anong description nila. Command and control is what integrates. No? Maneuver is how you position. Intel, fire support, sustainment, protection. So basically what we're saying is that warfighting functions are needed when we do operational planning. Kung matandaan nyo dun sa concept ng operational art, sinasabi natin that we are supposed to be able to visualize an operational approach. Pag sinabi mong visualize, you should be able to at least have a concept on how do you employ your forces. How do you intend to accomplish an objective. Kaya lang hindi naman sinasabi ng operational approach yung how to do it. Doon sa COA development naman natin, hindi rin naman natin alam paano gamitin yung warfighting function concept. How do you organize and employ military forces? Yun yung gusto natin sagutin. No? Kasi sinasabi ng operational approach na tulad ng ganito, no? You have the naval operation, air operation, information operation, and then you have the supporting objectives. Naka-facing na siya. Alam mo na kung ano yung desired objective. Pero paano mo ba i-coordinate, i-integrate at saka i-synchronize yung operation mo? I was asking the students, how do you do it? And they do not know how to do it. So meaning to say, we need to start off with what we term as capabilities. Okay? Ano ba ang pagkaintindi nyo pag nagsabi tayo ng capabilities? Lieutenant Commanderable Peter Pedro Dahan.
Good afternoon, sir.
Hmm.
Sir, for me, sir, yung capability, sir, it is what we have, sir, to be utilized in order to conduct our mission, sir.
Okay. So capability is what we have. Ano yung what we have?
Assets, sir, and other requirements that will support our mission, sir.
Okay. So capabilities coming from that word, no? Kunin mo yung root word, are your abilities, no? Are your power that you will use in order to accomplish an objective. Okay? So capabilities are supposed to be your power, no? That or your ability to perform actions in order to accomplish an objective. And normally, yung capability na to is translated into the .mil PFP concept. Yung dulong P is policy. No? Dinagdag lang ng bagong doctrine that there has to be policy. Sino sa inyo ang hindi alam kung ano yung .mil PF? So lahat kayo, okay? Marcher, all of you know?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So at this juncture, let me take you back. Let us revisit yung .mil PFP construct. .mil PF is a concept, it is an acronym that pertains to the capability of an organization. It is important because it is a tool in which we are able to improve our effectiveness and efficiency as an organization. So let us try to look at definitions. Although the following definitions may seem straightforward to guide your intellectual thoughts, I would like to request for your indulgence to ponder upon a deeper understanding para ma-maximize natin talaga yung value ng .mil PF concept. When I was Commander Fleet Marine Warfare, I observed that there had been little education on what the model really means, nor were there any guidance on how to use them in planning, in developing capabilities to fix capability gaps. I was also Deputy N5 during that time. Ang pagkaintindi ng karamihan sa HPN at saka sa mga other units is that when you talk about capabilities .mil PF, i-ensure mo lang na dapat may doktrina bago dumating yung material, then dapat may training yung mga tao for that material, and that there should be education regarding the new capability or weapon system that needs to happen. Di ba ganun palagi yung ginagawa? But there is more to that. Ang pagkaintindi ng organization is hindi lang yung how we organize to fight. Organization also pertains to the schools that provide the training, the centers that write the doctrine publication, and the defense research offices that writes the or tries to research on new capabilities. Pag sinabi mong leadership and education, hindi lang siya yung basta preparing our leaders to lead and fight. Leadership and education also means leaders that are able to create cultural change that requires personnel to develop innovative thinking and yung parang a prospective mind, a mind that always looks forward towards how to develop new methods. Pag sinabi nating facility, yung hangar ng bagong helicopter, yung shelter ng bagong frigate. But facilities also includes yung website, yung electronic libraries, yung mga bagay na should be able to help the capability be enhanced. Kasi nga, kulang yung number of doctrine books mo. Diba? Inaamag na lang yung karamihan na doctrines dyan sa mga library. Pero pag ginawan mo siya ng electronic method, yung reach niya, kahit yung tao sa tawi-tawi pag may signal, will be able to access yung mga doctrinal publication or yung mga TTPs or yung mga procedure manuals. Okay? The correct application ng .mil PF model is about understanding yung relationship ng iba't ibang non-material solution. Do you understand? Pag tumingin ka ng .mil PF concept, it should be how you try to relate the relationship of all of this non-material, not necessarily yung material lang. Okay? That a school, yung school is hindered to train if it does not have a reference manual or access to information. At that a commander cannot expect to direct his subordinates to use a product or a weapon system properly if it has no reference, if it has no training, or if it has no training support. Okay? The weapon system is the item. Okay? So makita nyo dyan, may submarines, may mga eroplano, may mga warships, may mga C4 I-Star capabilities. The material solution is the item. Okay? But it requires all the other non-material solution to make it work. Di ba?
Yes, sir.
The bottom line, okay? The material components do not accomplish missions. They do not provide capabilities. It's the other way around. Kaya pag nagkaroon tayo ng isang planning session o strategic planning, ang palaging lumalabas, material solution. It should be in a different perspective. Ito yung gusto kong i-share sa inyo. The fact is, the most and the least expensive way is to develop doctrines, training, and then your leadership. Yes, initially. But you have to look back at the other non-material component ng capability in order to make it effective and efficient. Okay? Hanggang dito lang kasi palagi sa tatlo na to. Okay? So when you look at capabilities in terms of .mil PF, you look at the relationship of all those other components. Okay? Because for me, the non-material solution will always be preferred over the material solution. May bago kang weapon system. Diba? Sira naman after 3 years. Let us go back. Okay? So capabilities is your power, your ability to be able to accomplish the mission. As military professionals, you look at capabilities in terms of operation. Kasi ang capability gagamitin mo sa military operations. You need to consider capabilities in connection with the required tasks. Titingnan mo yung capability. Ano ba task? Seize, control, defeat, destroy, protect. Okay? You look at capabilities in order to in the form of tasks in order to achieve your military objective. So ito yung relationship ng capability mo. No? Capability are meant to perform tasks. Tasks are meant to accomplish military objectives. Now, over time, capabilities of different armed forces were analyzed. Tiningnan nila kung ano yung mga nangyayari sa buong warfare sa buong mundo for the past 100, 200 years. Ano ba yung common ingredient or common denominator ng mga armies na nanalo? So they look at the capabilities. And capabilities are expressed in combat power when executing operations. From among all those warfare na nangyari sa history ng buong mundo, na-determine nila na ito yung mga essential ingredients. Now, the last 6 were collectively described as warfighting functions. Okay? Ito yung mga combat power na common sa halos lahat ng mga nanalo. Now, these 6 warfighting functions, these 6 warfighting functions are reinforced by leadership and information to make it more effective. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever heard this topic before?
This is our first time, sir, for the class.
So ang input natin is gusto ko kayong turuan kung paano gamitin yung warfighting function sa operational planning. Okay? Over time, meron silang sinasabing winning template na dapat gamitin mo yung warfighting functions, no? Annotate, then ano yung tinek sa akin ni Hill? Ano yung gagamitin ko, Hill?
Yes, sir.
Ano yung gagamitin ko? Pointer? Saan ba pointer dito?
Ano sir, paki-right click yung mismong ano sir, yung PowerPoint presentation. Itong ano na to sir, screen na to. Right click
Ah,
niyo sir.
right click.
Ah, so tapos may mag-a-appear diyan sir na pointers or
Annotate.
parang
Annotate ang nakalagay.
annotate sir. Hindi ano lang sir, i-right click niyo lang diyan sa mismong screen niyo sir kung
Oh, right click.
sir.
Pointer.
Yes sir, pointer options.
So,
Tapos
highlighter, ano ba? Laser pointer.
kung anong gusto niyo sir gamitin.
Ayan, kikita nyo?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Very clear.
So, sinasabi nila na may winning template, no? We just use the principles of war, ito, with the army tenets of maneuver, unity of command, and then you try to develop yung war fighting function nyo, and you will come up with a very decisive operation. So, ito yung sinasabi nilang winning template. And the US, the British, the French, and other Western armies were always using this kind of templates. Kaya lang tayo, hindi pa rin tayo marunong gumamit ng ganitong klaseng template. Okay. Paano i-exit yung pointer na to?
Right click lang uli sir.
And then, i-unclick ko.
Sir, unclick lang sir.
So, let's try first of all, no? Let's try to acquaint ourselves with the operational framework in going to operations. Ito yung hindi pa rin minsan ginagamit ng karamihan. Although nakikita natin sa mga OPORD, OPLAN at saka sa mga campaign plan natin, kahit sa mga ibang LOIs, no? There is the main effort and supporting effort. Pero itong dalawa hindi masyado ginagamit. The operational framework will provide you with a basic option, no, to visualize and describe operations. The three fundamental ways to organize operation is decisive, shaping, sustaining, deep, close, rear, tsaka main and supporting efforts. Sa decisive, shaping, and sustaining operations, what you are focused here is yung purpose ng operation. Okay? The purposes assigned to subordinate. Yung decisive part is the action that will accomplish the purpose. Yung shaping part will set the condition for the success, and the sustaining is the one that is ensuring that both decisive and shaping will happen or are supported throughout. So again, no, it's a concept for you to be able to describe and visualize how you are going to organize your operation. So one of the way is to do it through decisive, shaping, and sustaining. And this is based on the purpose. So pag ang purpose mo is to defeat, dapat yung decisive na organization mo is naka-center doon sa to defeat. And then you have to do shaping to allow that decisive will be able to happen. And then sustaining is for you to ensure that the first two, yung shaping at saka decisive, will eventually materialize. Another way to organize your operation is through the deep close rear. Yung deep close rear operations are focused normally dun sa geographical relation. Kung paano nalatag yung area of operation mo. It is normally associated with the terrain, but can also be used for operation that extend in time. Deep operation are centric to the enemy that are not committed. So yung nasa likod ng kalaban, yung mga logistics niya, yung mga factories niya, okay, which would require action in order to disrupt yung mga main na kalaban na mako-confront nyo. Okay. Sample ng deep din is yung mga reserve forces. Pag binomba nyo yung reserve forces ng kalaban, ibig sabihin, wala na silang reserve component. Okay? Or you could disable their communications para at least ma-cut off nyo sila sa kanilang maneuver. Okay? Yung close action deals with the enemy forces that you are upfront with. Ito yung mga kino-confront nyo. And then the rear operation are associated with yung mga sustaining security ninyo. Okay? Yung rear mo. So when you are engaged in the close, make sure that your rear is protected, that you have reserve, that you have sustaining. Yung sa kalaban naman, yung deep ng kalaban, yun naman yung i-disrupt nyo. And the last way to organize operation is through the main and supporting effort. Now, a misunderstanding sometimes is kung sino yung may pinakamalaking force, yun yung main effort. Okay? And then linalagyan na lang na supporting effort yung mga mas maliit. The main and supporting effort are used not just to organize the force, no? But it deals with the priority of effort ng force. So kung sino yung priority unit is the main effort. Okay? Yung least priority unit, yun yung mga supporting effort. Now, during the phase of operation, example, first phase ng operation is to conduct shaping operation. Baka ang main effort during that time is ang Air Force kasi bubumbahin nila, isi-shape nila yung terrain. Diba? And once the operation shifts to decisive engagement, yung main effort will shift towards the land component. Kasi ang organization ng main and supporting is directly related to the priority of the action that will take place. Do you understand? Okay? So we have discussed kung ano yung 3 ways to organize operations. And all of them can be done at the same time or some of them can be done independently. But again, the option is to make sure that it conforms to the situation that you are in. Okay? So whether separate or in combination. Lieutenant Commanderable Jerry Tutulan.
Lieutenant Patalan, sir.
Okay. Pag sinabi nating primacy in war functions, ilan uli ang war fighting functions?
6, sir.
Okay. Doon sa 6, meron ba dapat number 1?
Pardon, sir?
Doon sa 6 na war fighting function, is there a number 1? Dapat yun yung primary? Equal ba sila o merong dapat mas higher?
I think, sir, the 6, sir, will be equal in importance, sir.
All of them are of equal importance. So pantay-pantay. Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, thank you. So, sa war fighting functions, all of them are of equal importance. But, there is a primacy in the war fighting functions. Who could guess kung ano yung pinaka primus inter pares? No, just like Congress. 'Di ba? Lahat sila equal, pero merong primus inter pares. Yung sa may prime minister. Okay? Marcher, guess.
I guess is the command and control, sir.
Command and control. Very good. Pero mali. Sino gusto mag-guess ulit? Okay. So the primacy in warfighting function is the maneuver. Everything, no? Yung intel, yung fires, yung force protection, yung sustainment, all of them are supposed to be crafted in developed in support to the maneuver. Okay? Yung command and control will be the one that will integrate these other 5. But the primacy in warfighting function should be the maneuver. Okay? Question?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So, sa warfighting function as we close out now, each one of them must be considered in order to fully employ yung combat power na sinasabi natin. But the maneuver warfighting function acts as the pivot from which all the other warfighting function revolves. Okay? Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Meron tayong tanong so far?
None so far yet, sir.
Okay. Ako may tanong.
Yes, sir.
Nasaan si Ryan? Ryan.
Hi, sir.
Ano ang central idea ng warfighting function?
To appropriately execute the operation, sir, in order to attain the objective.
Okay, so the central idea of warfighting function is that it should be able to help you plan. Okay? It help you organize, to help you fight. Okay, so yun yung central idea. E nasa planning siya. Kaya gusto ko matutunan nyo kung paano siya gamitin sa planning. Okay? So, I would like to give you an example. Okay? So, how do we use it in military planning? Example. Yung mission statement, okay? So, when you do a concept of operation briefing, example, coming from this mission statement, no? On orders, Joint Task Force conducts security and stability operation in the joint operational area in order to facilitate the transition to stable governance and portion is ilatag nyo kaagad yung connection unstable. Kanino yan? Akin sa inyo. Saan naputol?
Wala naman naputol, sir.
Okay. Nag-kuan kasi dito, connection unstable. So you should now be able to array your forces. So kung makikita nyo, no, meron kang main effort, no, yung ground combat element mo, meron kang supporting effort, 1, 2, and 3. And then do not forget na meron kang reserve component. So ina-array mo yung forces mo. And I would like to invite all of you. Sana wag kayo umabot sa rangko ng Navy Captain o Colonel na hindi nyo naiintindihan kung ano tong mga doctrinal symbol na to. Testingan natin. Lieutenant Commanderable Kipchani. June, nasaan ka?
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Okay. Pag linagyan ko ng isang X yung nasa taas ng box, anong doctrinal symbol yan for what?
1X, sir.
Ito. O yan.
Commander Task Force, sir.
It's a unit.
Ay, sir. Brigade, sir.
Brigade. Pag dalawa,
Division, sir. Division.
ito, anong doctrinal symbol ito?
Battalion, sir.
Ha?
Ano, sir?
Ito.
Armor, sir. Armor.
Armor. Ito.
Try to find it.
IFS.
FS, sir.
I'll find out, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay? So, it's available in the internet, no? Lahat ito, no? Lahat yung mga yan, they are available sa internet. I-save nyo lang sa computer nyo para palagi kayong may reference. Okay? So once you come up with a array of your forces, you now develop yung command relationship. So gagawa na kayo ng org structure. So from there, gagawa kayo ng concept of operation. So meron na kayong COA development na inapprove. Meron na kayong napili. Gagawa nyo siya ng concept of operation. When you present a concept of operation, it normally involves different kinds of graphics, no? Yung enemy, yung forces mo, okay? And you normally develop a narrative. It's an explanation nung sketch mo na nasa kanan. Okay? So the COA narrative. Joint Expeditionary Force as the combined task force main effort conducts amphibious envelopment to defeat enemy forces in our AO. Itong product na to, this is done based on kung ano yung enemy most dangerous COA. Okay? So this situation is that you have these enemies, ito yung mga to, and ito yung blue force mo nandito. Okay? Shaping is when your army striker brigade is able to fix yung kalaban para makuha yung attention. And from there, yung amphibious force mo should be able to conduct amphibious operation in this portion. And then be able to secure this phase line, block the enemy withdrawal, and then continue the fixing operation in order to use the hammer and anvil method to crush the enemy. Kasi yung most dangerous is when the enemy is able to fall back dito sa... Marcher, nakikita yung pointer ko?
Yes, sir.
When they are able to fall back here in Singapore. So this is the Malaysian map, no? So yun yung in-address na COA para ma-prevent nila magawa yung enemy most dangerous nila. And if you could look at dito sa COA narrative, ini-explain niya, no? The ground component acting as the main effort will be composed of 2 regimental landing teams and 2 coalition brigade. The supporting effort 1 is an army component composed of striker brigade and Pars brigade. SE2 is composed of the air component element composed of 2 wing groups and 1 fixed wing group, etc., etc. Now the shaping fixes the enemy in order to allow the main effort to conduct envelopment. So nagpi-fix siya para makuha yung attention, para ma-deceive nila ngayon dito yung envelopment. Decisive is when our main effort will defeat the enemy by conducting operational maneuver from the sea. Sustaining is when our SE3 will be able to sustain the ME and provide forward logistics using the new SPADs. Okay. This operation will be conducted in 5 parts. So ganun pag-explain ng isang CONOPS. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Ano ang primacy in warfighting function?
Maneuver, sir.
Okay. So next slide nyo ngayon will now be we'll go to maneuver. Kasi siya ang pinaka-pivot ng lahat eh. Binigay ko na yung CONOPS, di ba? I already tried to show you what will happen, how I intend to defeat the enemy. Okay? So sa maneuver, balik na naman tayo. Kasi sinabi dun sa CONOPS that I will be conducting this operation into how many parts?
5, sir.
Yan, no? Sa dulo, di ba? This operation will be conducted in 5 parts. So part 1, ang pangalan ng part 1 ng operation is preparation. So for the shaping part, I will let my troops collect intelligence in preparation for precision strikes to support the maneuver. The decisive is when my units are prepared to conduct amphibious operation and the new command relations is already in effect. Okay. So lalagyan ko kung ano yung task and purpose. Okay. So makikita nyo rito yung task ng main effort, yung purpose niya, ano yung task ng supporting efforts, ano yung purpose nila. Okay. So, ibig sabihin dito sa preparation, dapat naka-embark na yung mga landing forces ko, yung mga fixing forces ko, naka-ready na, lahat na munitions ready na, yung lahat na ISR at saka mga other support functions are already gearing up. Okay? Part 2, fixing. Okay? So for part 2, ang in-explain ng slide na to is yung striker brigade ko gagalaw na. Magko-conduct na rin ng strike dito sa kalaban na to para i-deceive ko sila na akala nila dito ako aatake. Yun pala, what I'm really going to be doing is I'm just fixing them here. Yung main effort ko umalis na. Ito na sila. Ito pala talaga yung pangbakbak ko. Okay? So I'm trying to deceive them here so that my main effort will be able to envelop. Okay? So if you could see, lilagyan ko pa rin ano yung task ng purpose ng mga players ko. Normally, when you do it in 5 parts, palagi mong lagyan sa dulo. This part of the operation will end once my main effort has been able to embark towards their objective for amphibious landing. Okay? Next, part 3. This is the assault. Okay? So shaping is when my SE3 will be able to disrupt the enemy, no? Ito pa rin yung task and purpose, no? My striker brigade will continue to fix the enemy. My main effort will now be able to conduct amphibious operation in designated objective alpha and offload yung mga main effort na gagawa ng hammer and anvil sa kalaban. Okay? So this part will end when my main effort has already landed and secured. Ito, secured. So you should also be familiar with the doctrinal symbols na gagamitin nyo. No? So ito, what does this mean? This mean fix, di ba? Pag half arrow na may pag may half circle na may arrow sa dulo, what does that mean? Secure. Pag letter T na baliktad, block. Okay? So, i-save nyo yan sa mga computer nyo and then you'll be able to continuously educate yourself kung ano yung tamang doctrinal symbols na gagamitin pagdating sa operational planning. Okay? Hindi kailangan na ang kalahati ng graduate ng staff course is taga-timpla lang ng kape. Okay? So part 4 ng maneuver is my forces will now be able to fix the enemy and my striker brigade will continuously go down. Okay? This part of the operation will end when the enemy is defeated and we have already established blocking positions in phase line in order to prevent the enemy from going to Singapore. Okay? The last part of the operation is the transition. Okay? Gagawa na siya ng screen. Nakita niyo yung box na may S? Yan yung doctrinal symbol ng screen. And my forces are now ready to transition towards phase 3 ng operation. Okay?
Yes, sir.
So in a way, you have the primacy of the maneuver. Ang sabi natin siya ang pivot. So lahat na other components ng warfighting function will support that. So yung other 5, gagawa natin ng presentation. Example, kung applicable. Okay? Pag wala naman tayong fires, both direct and indirect, kasi wala naman tayo, may FA-50 na tayo. Diba? Meron na rin tayong missile, kung ilang pilaso. Okay? So, it also tries to give you what the fires warfighting function will do. Okay? So, the concept of fires will start during part 1, the preparation, ano yung purpose, method, and state, no? Ano yung magiging task and purpose ng mga fire components. Okay? Yung 12th Division will mass long-range fires, no? To preserve combat power. Yung supporting effort 2 will disrupt their ability to maneuver against the 3rd MEP to set the conditions for landing. So, part 3, fixing. Okay. So, part 3 is the actual assault. Part 4, exploitation. So, anong gagawin ng fires during those 5 parts ng operation? Okay. Same thing with sustainment. Anong gagawin ng logistics? So sa part 1, dapat ma-set up niya na yung mga different supply classes niya. Makikita nyo yung mga kita sa left side. Ano yung task, ano yung purpose. Okay? End state, this part will end when all amphibious forces are ready to deploy. No? And class 1, class 3, class 5 on-hand supplies are there to support the forces at the vicinity of Objective Alpha. Okay? So, anong gagawin ng part 2? No change. Part 3, meron na naman. Dapat masuportahan ko yung amphibious landing to enable follow-on forces. Okay? This part will end when the amphibious landing is successful and all forces for support are postured also for ground movement. Yung concept of health support, yung mga doktor, yung mga nurse, no? Meron din sila. Yung force protection, anong gagawin nila during part 1, during part 2, during part 3, during part 4, during part 5. Okay. And then kung this particular scenario sa MDMP nyo, meron akong pinapagawa na concept of support. So tandaan nyo na ang concept comes from conceptual planning. Therefore, ang presentation ng concept of support should be based on the 3 elements of commander's guidance. So pag pinagawa kayo, example, Roland Manyehe.
Hello, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Pag pinagawa kita ng concept of support for intel or concept of support for information operation, ano dapat format niya?
For me, sir, if you will make a concept of intel support, sir, you need all the concept of air support and intel support, sir, the capability of the enemy, sir, especially their asset. Aside from their asset, the support.
Anong format? Pag sinabi ko, present to me a concept of support for 1 slide lang, ano dapat format niya?
Format for me, sir, EOB, sir, enemy order of battle, sir.
Balik tayo ha. Ano ang pinaka-output ng operational design?
Operation. Commander's intent, sir.
Hindi. Ulit. Ano ang pinaka product o produkto o result ng operational design? You should be able to develop a what? Alam na alam ni Lieutenant Commander Abol Aquino yun. Simula pa nung Lunes, pinabalik-balik natin.
Operational approach, sir.
Very good. Yung operational approach will now be translated into what? Kasi concept lang siya. Magiging ano na siya?
Commander's intent, sir.
Commander's guidance and intent. Ano ang format ng commander's guidance and intent? Ano yung 3 elements niya?
Purpose, method, and end state, sir.
Very good. So pag sinanong kita, kayo lahat, pag pinagawa kayo ng concept of support for ISR, concept of support for health service, concept of support for logistics, o kung ano mang concept of support, ano dapat ang format?
Yung purpose, method, and end state, sir.
Very good. Wag na wag niyong kakalimutan yan, ha? Okay?
Yes, sir.
Pag binigyan kayo, give me a concept of support, yun lang yung format na gagawin nyo. Ano ba ang purpose? Ano ang method? Ano yung end state? Okay?
Ay, sir. Thank you, sir.
Sige, thank you. So, makikita natin dito na they develop a concept of support for air. Okay? Sa preparation, sa part 2, sa part 3, sa part 4, hanggang part 5. I tried to show to you a way, but not the only way, of how to use the war fighting function in operational planning. Kasi ang pinanggalingan ng war fighting function, sabi nga natin, is they are the most common ingredient among all of the armies in all conflicts in military history from different countries. That was a common denominator from the victor side. Kung paano mag-organize ng operation, pinakita ko na rin that you could actually conceptually organize them in 3 ways. So that combination of organizing forces and then utilizing warfighting function is an offering that I give to you that you consider when you do your operational planning. May mga situation that might not require doing this. But when it comes to complex military problems, kailangan gawin ito. Otherwise, there will be risk of opening up your operation towards failure. I hope that your learning will not stop here. I hope that you continue to go back to the references and read other references on those topics that you are most interested. Okay. Hindi lahat na ma-share ko sa inyo can be given in this lecture. A lot of the things that I could share to you is when I am there in front of you habang nagpipresent kayo ng mission analysis briefing nyo or yung COA development briefing nyo. But I told your course director to select 4 competent officers to do that for me. Okay? So just like yung operational design presentation kanina, I hope you learn by the way I commented on it. Yung center of gravity presentation rin ng group 3, I hope you were also able to learn by way of kung paano ko rin siya kinomentan. So makikita nyo na pag nag-lecture, regardless of how good you will be able to impart it, it needs to be tested and enhanced through a practical exercise. And probably 90% of the learning is there in the practical exercise. It's not in the lecture. Makikita ko lang yung movement nyo, no? You will have a road to crisis brief after this to be given by your course director. Makikita ko pa lang doon sa scenario na yon. And then a while ago, I showed or I shared to you some of the integral tasks that needs to be done. No? You have to secure your slocks. You have to establish naval presence. You have to establish defensive posture. You have to be able to coordinate with LGUs. Ito na yung mga tasking that you already are supposed to consider. And these are the correct tasking that will emanate from the operational design that should have happened. Okay? You are still at that point in your career na absorptive muna kayo. No? Ito yung, I was also a captain. No? Kaya lang, nung kapitan ako yung taga-sulat ng halos lahat ng mga strategic plan, mga kung anong management plan ng mga opisina na pupuntahan ko. Okay? And I hope you will be able to, at least, nung time namin kasi wala naman nagturo sa amin ng ganun. Ang sa akin lang is as you progress, you try to use the warfighting function as the main ingredient in doing your operational planning. I will also try to slowly influence General Headquarters to do so. Okay? But you could start off with what you already know. So from here, we are now open to question. Macher.
Yes, sir, Marcher. Any question, classmate?
Good afternoon, sir. Lieutenant Gonzalvo, sir. Sir, balik
Sige.
lang po ako dun, sir, sa previous lecture nyo, sir, yung regarding sa environmental framing, sir. Sir, how should we approach environmental framing, sir? Should it be looking at the environment and its effects to us, or should it be looking at the environment and its effects against the enemy, sir?
Both.
Ay, sir.
Pero ang center ng environmental framing is ano yung tensions, ano yung issues, ano yung actors dun sa variable ng environment that you need to consider. Example nga, your operation is, let's say, an HADR operation. Okay, you're looking at the physical elements of the operational environment. So, ibig sabihin, pag nangyari yung earthquake, yung physical deduction natin is that there will be restrictive mobility. There will be disruptive comms. Kasi satellite towers will be down, or blah, 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 blah. This will now be deduced in the kind of actions and approaches that you are supposed to do. Ibig sabihin, gagamit ako ng SATCOM, SATPON, mga ICOM, o other means to communicate. Pag sinabi ko naman dun sa physical infrastructure, dapat I should be able to have the capability to clear roads, bridges, and debris. No? Ito yung mga deduction mo dun sa environmental frame. But because it is leading off towards problem framing, mas magiging input siya dun sa causal loop, and you will now have the correct intervention to place there. No? Example, nakalagay doon na restrictive corridors for rescue and relief. Therefore, ang management mo doon is provide, or kundi ba manage, o kundi ba kung anong intervention ang pwedeng gamitin doon.
Ay, sir. Thank you, sir.
So, good afternoon, sir. Lieutenant Nyehe ulit, sir.
Yes.
Sir, regarding po dun sa slot ng Wargaming, sir. My question, sir, is tinitingnan po ba natin yung sir, quantity tsaka quality approach po doon ng different asset between our asset and our enemy asset?
Sa wargaming, yung relative combat power analysis o yung RCPA normally occurs during your COA development. And at the same time, yung determination of threat ng IPB, dapat nakasama na doon yung discussion regarding yung composition at saka array of forces ng kalaban. So if you're asking me sa COA war game, do we consider the quantity and quality of the enemy? Hindi. What we're considering sa COA war game is the action, reaction, and counteraction of the red and the blue force. Tinitest natin yung strength and weakness ng action natin. Yun yung nagtatranspire sa war game. Okay?
Yes, sir. Sir, I asked the question, sir. I just relate my question with the article from our proceedings, sir, na could US defeat the Iran's Navy, sir, with this exercise? From that exercise, sir, they showed that they can defeat the US through wargaming, sir, by means of asymmetric warfare, sir. So I relate the question with the topic because also from other countries, sir, if they have a COA, sir, they simulate the COA in computers, simulations. So is it possible, sir, na gawin din po natin sa AFP with the help of technology, sir?
Technology is meant to guide you. It is meant to assist your thinking process because at the end of the day, it is going to be you who's going to be thinking. Ang problem with our simulation system is basically we cannot afford yung anong meron sila. Kasi what they have already contains the artificial intelligence that are able to simulate probable outcomes of the COA that are being inserted. Ang nangyayari sa atin, tulad ng 20 million simulator system ng Fleet Marine Warfare, when I was there, sabi ko, para man lang yan siyang smart board. It's able to do steps 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's not able to simulate. Kasi wala siyang artificial intelligence. When I was at CGSE, I was also part of the technical working group to develop the Wargaming Simulation Center. Nandun pa rin yung aspect ng funding. That's why they opted to get the Austrian offering kasi we cannot afford yung simulators na may artificial intelligence. Ang sa Amerikano naman, ayaw naman nila i-share. Ayaw nilang ibenta. So yung ginagamit namin noon when I was MC8, we were using the M2AS. Ano nga ibig sabihin? Basta it's a tactical wargaming simulation, no? Marine tactical wargaming simulation system, M2AS. I was always asking the director, si Fred Grant, if we would be able to have access and be able to procure a same simulator that they were having, but they said hindi daw pwedeng i-share yung ganung klaseng technology. So probably we could ask the Russians or the Chinese to share it with us yung kanila kasi ayaw ng Amerikano. Okay. Ikukwento ko na rin yung sinabi mo na. I was in Quantico noong 2012 and 10 years before that they conducted the biggest simulation exercise in US history. They simulated a notional country in the Middle East. Itago natin sa pangalang Iran. They used 2 fleets. 2 fleet ang ginamit. And to take part is the Red Cell headed by Simon Nevi. He's an Israeli general. And during that time, during the simulation process, no, you had two fleets. So may imagine nyo lang kung gaano kalakas yung air power, yung fleet power, at saka yung marine component na kasama doon. But Simon Nevi defeated, no, along with General Van Riper, yung USMC, na nag-form din ng Red Cell to address yung COA ng Blue Force. Tinalo nila by using fast interdiction attack crafts that are missile capable. Yung dalawang fleet, no, it resulted to 7 surface platforms na totally damaged, and then 30 plus partially damaged na platforms ng US Navy. So, because of what happened, no, doon na-develop yung ginagamit ng AADS na swarm tactic by using the fast interdiction attack crafts that are missile capable. Ang utility lang nun, based on our setting, is that we have the geographical advantage comprising of several choke points. Tinatanong ko nga palagi, bakit 7 choke points? Kasi yun yung sinabi dati ng upper class eh. Sabi ko, bakit hindi tayo gumawa ng survey ngayon kung ano ba talagang totoong choke points? Wala man, ayaw man. Wala may gusto, wala rin interesado. Diba? Sabi ko, ako na gagawa. Suportahan niyo ako. No? Pamasahe lang naman yan at saka kain eh. Then we could actually do the correct choke points na dapat i-determine dito sa Pilipinas in order to take advantage of our geographical advantage to develop yung sinasabi yung swarm tactics. Okay? The sad part is, nandyan na yung concept ng swarm tactics. Nandun na rin yung knowledge with regards to the fast interdiction attack crafts. And yet, when you do your capability development, yung priority pa rin was not given to it. If you look at it now, regardless if you will have 10 frigates, tapos magkaroon ka pa ng 20 corvette, 30 malalaking ship, do you think you are able to confront PLA Navy with that kind of asset? There will never be any point in time that there will be equity in terms of firepower and platforms. And the sad part is we are trying to get missiles. Anong capability ng missile natin? 10 to 12 kilometers. Diba? Nakita niyo ba nung bumisit si Sir Eric Kagawan sa China, pinakitaan sila ng isang destroyer. Yung destroyer na yun, merong dalawang missile tubes. Each missile tube system has 24 tubes. Yung range ng missile nila is nasa 110 kilometers. Kinonvert ko lang into miles. So nandyan na yung 10 mo na frigate, yung 20 mo na corvette, pero yung missile mo is hanggang doon lang pala. Tatapatan ka ng isang destroyer ng PLA na merong dalawang tig 24 tube, ibig sabihin 48 na missiles. Out of the horizon from 120 kilometers, tinitira ka na niya. So that gives us a question na, ano ba talaga ang concept natin sa territorial defense? I think swarm tactics is very viable. So why not address, di ba? Even the US Navy are already on the position of trying to lure themselves away from bigger boats because they understand that the future operating environment will not be kind to bigger boats. Kasi iba na yung basa mo ng future operating environment. It's gonna be about cyber, it's gonna be about space. Yung convergence ng warfighting domain is now becoming singular. Nakukombine na yung land, air, surface, subsurface, warfighting components. It now becomes a single warfighting domain. Kasi yung lethality and ability ng mga capabilities today are already being able to achieve by multi-domain capabilities. So nagiging indistinguishable na yung mga sinasabi natin na land domain, maritime domain, kung ano-anong domain. We have to view it into a single warfighting domain wherein your capabilities are able to execute, operate, and win in that converging domain. So for us to win, we should be able to take note kung ano yung geographical advantage natin, develop the right concept to at least, we are not there to defeat them because we could never do that. But we can be there to at least deter them. Again, deterrence, tulad ng Singapore. Yes, you can attack us and you can win, but we promise you, you will get hurt. Ganun din sana sa atin. For us to buy time with a deterrence concept, to enable your diplomatic channels and your other channels such as your alliances and partners, to at least dictate the tempo of what will happen next. But if you will try to determine that you're able to defeat them, South Sea Fleet pa lang nga, hindi ka na nga nangalahati. Diba? Have you been given a briefing on the capability of China? Sana, anyway, kung mahagilap ko yung mga brief ko, ipadala ko sa course director nyo. So it's a very informative brief. This was given by the attaché in China back then, yung class 89, si Marvin Licudini. It was a very good presentation of what you are really confronted with. And you are also looking at yung, sana maka-find time kayo, available din naman sa internet, yung paper ni Romel Cordoba, yung class 93, he's now the G5 of the Army. Ipapakita niya sa inyo yung omnidirectional aspect ng game plan ng China at saka yung multi-domain approach na ginagawa niya. You'll be able to understand kung ano yung pinaka unrestricted warfare na ginagawa niya. Okay? Yung these kinds of concept na when I was your rank, these are also developed by captains and majors. I have done a lot of concept in my life. I have written a lot of plans. Hindi lang sa military, kasi sa civilian sector, binabayaran ako eh. Kaya mas gusto kong gumawa doon. 6 digits eh. Dito, thank you. O, tsaka, nice man ha. Ayos talaga. Ganun dito eh. Diba? So, you should try to always explore how can I be able to develop concept to defend. How should you can start small, no? And then you could come to me, sir, may idea ko, ito yung idea ko. Paano ba i-develop to? Then we could work on that. Hindi limited, no? Limitless ang way of solving problems ng Pilipinas. It's just a matter of being able to have the time and the commitment to do so. And normally it starts with people like you. Kasi kayo naman yung mamana nito eh. My time is almost over. I'm also about to retire na in a few years. So that's how it is. So I'll be able to impart to you most of the things that I know if you're able to ask me also the questions that you want to know. Kung wala na tayong tanong, it will be a long day for you. No? It will be a long day. Tomorrow you will have your operations plan. Course Director,
Yes, sir. This is Commander Kamasura, sir.
okay, so from here, give them the road to crisis brief and then try to give them the rubrics for tomorrow's presentation. As much as possible, try to have a common, no? Pero minsan kasi yung pagdala ng operational planning process is dependent sa panel. No? It can have his mission analysis at 08 muna para sa lahat. And then kung kailangan i-refine, pwede niya ipaulit alas 10, alauna. But ang point is, dapat by Friday at 13:30 siguro, or no later than 1500, matapos na nila hanggang concept of operation briefing. Dapat ma-deliver na nila